Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Gwen the Recovering Witch here, also known as Jen, with Halseer again. I'm so excited since the last episode that we had up, and we're really going to continue doing this again. I think if he'd like to, I mean, I can be on your channel and you can be on my channel. And we could talk about other things besides
of course.
Addiction and recovery. But yeah, today's topic, because again, with Halseer and I, we really have this soft spot, especially for me, being in recovery, and always wanting to have the betterment for, I don't know, I guess the word that I'm looking for, like us humans in general, like, you know what I mean?
Having what's best for everybody and treating everybody as they should be treated and giving them a chance to actually be seen as a human being instead of like, oh, they're an addict. Yes. That's a human being, people. Use your head.
Yes. So, and again, for me being one, and I have so many elements, I don't even like using the word character defects anymore, but that's a whole other topic for another day. Yeah. But
it's just a part. It's just a part of you. It makes you you. So
exactly.
Oh, well, so I mean, it is what it is, and if you change it, then you're not being you for real. So yes. It is what it is.
It is what it is. But yeah, we thought a good topic today would be how to improve one's ability to stay grounded when we start feeling that itch, that urge of what our vices were. For mine, alcohol. Off this, I was telling Halseer about me vaping because I'm a nicotine fiend, and caffeine, and many other things. We have talked about this, but
I'm guilty of caffeine too. I need it because if I don't have it, everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, okay, who made him mad? Who's the one that took his his let's say his lucky sprints? Yeah, the ones that make him prance good. Yeah, who took them?
Yeah,
because now he can't prance properly. You don't take a flamer's prancers.
As I pick up my leftover joke from this morning.
I'll start first off with astrologically, if you know what your chart is, and I mean, I'll put myself out there. When you're trying to combat something that's like trying to get you to be influenced and trying to like tempt you in your astrology chart, you'll be trying to find your north node or Rahu, and wherever that is, Rahu represents vices, intoxic, like intaking substances that alter and pretty much change your perception in a not so beneficial way. It's also like going from A to Z twice, like that. So wherever Rahu is in your birth chart, like for example, mine's in the 11th house in Sagittarius. So pretty much anything regarding me trying to be a preacher to society as a whole, that can actually be one of the vices I have, and it actually is. And also, the best way to counteract wherever Rahu's at is to look completely opposite where the south node is at, or K2. In this case, mine is in Gemini. So pretty much, Gemini is the sign of like communicating about BS stuff. It's like everyday mundane communication, but it's also the sign represented by two people, a man figure and a woman figure, coming together like that, and they're touching like that. So it has that ability to relate to others. So a way to look at it is that wherever your K2 is at, going towards that, and what house is in, mine's in the sign of Gemini in the 5th. So actually having like a unionship or like a one-on-one conversation about somebody's creativity will actually help combat me trying to be forcing to mass society as a whole, like, this is how you're supposed to be thinking because that's the best way to think. And if you don't like it, well, I'm addicted to doing it. So just stick it and do it. But going at it in a way that's the opposite with K2 and Gemini in the fifth, because K2 is a planet that's like, meh with this. I've already done this. Why am I doing it again? I'm just so like dissatisfied with it. I don't want to do this because it's that completely polar opposite energy. One is like, I must have this. The other one's like, not feeling it. So as finishing the example, K2 in the fifth in Gemini kind of shows that also expressing myself in a way that's creative and also kind of a little bit more simplistic also helps calm down that need to speak philosophically to the world altogether. But also if you have, depending on like where this axis is at, because they're always 180 degrees apart, in the 11th house, that's in astrology for like anatomy, that's your ankle and calf. So depending on like what sign it is, in this case is Sagittarius, you would then actually use, you can also do gemstone therapy, which is when you take a stone related to the sign in the ruling planet, and then you actually wear a piece on that part of the body. So for an example, let's see, in that case, it would have to be, okay, there we go. So for the example of, say, Sagittarius and the 11th house, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, which is everybody's favorite optimistic Oprah Winfrey planet that likes to give everybody everything and is near impossible to be a Debbie Downer. So then you would find a stone related to Jupiter. Probably the closest I got is rutilated quartz. Rutilated quartz is like, let's just say when you hold on to it and you squeeze it a little, you get a bit of a zzz. And Jupiter's atmosphere has a lot of storm action going on in there. So what you would do, just whoop, almost, but not quite, thank God. You would go and take the stone, and then you would go to your calf, and then you would actually massage your calf all around it, and also the ankle with the stone. And since it's Jupiter, you would probably want to go about, you would want to go around essentially 12 times, and it doesn't matter like how you go about it, go around it 12 times or at least 12 seconds, 12 minutes. I doubt you'll be doing it for 12 hours, but if you're that committed, okay, you can do that for 12 hours. And the reason why is because with Jupiter, it takes him 12 years to go through all the signs, and it's pretty much focusing that Jupiterian energy right on where Rahu's at. Because Rahu becomes a planet that whatever sign Rahu's in, it tries to become another copy of the planet. But when you're combating it by putting that planet's energy on top of it, it pretty much annuls it. And everybody's chart's different. But now, specifically that though, if you're doing that and charging up the Rahu, you're actually making the addiction kind of worse. So the opposing, you would want to go with a Gemini-related stone or Mercurian stone. That was a tongue twister. And you would want to see that it's in the 5th house and in Gemini. So Gemini rules the hands, phalanges, the arms, the shoulders, and the lungs. And then the 5th house that's pretty much like the diaphragm right here. So simply you could just yep. And the stone I'm using is a green aventurine. You just roll it all around, or if you just want to be extra simple, just put a little green aventurine. You could put green jade. You could. Just don't drink it. Amazonite's another one. I would not put emerald in there because that's a really expensive stone. Jade, green, tiger's eye, any stone that's, or even there was one more. Don't put turquoise in water. Don't do that because that's going to damage it. But having green aventuring and just having it be charged in water, you can just simply just get a wash rag and just stick it in there and just rain it out and just go. And then just completely wipe down all the spot where Gemini's at. And what that's doing is you're giving attention more to K2, and he's going to be like, he's going from meh to meh, literally. It's like you're empowering it to be more like meh with this. Oh, I don't want to be doing this anymore. And that's going to overpower the need for me to be like, so divinity says you must do this. That's actually going to calm it down a little bit. And having that urge to, just be like, preaching at the top of my lungs.
Yeah.
Another position that you could also see is where the sign of Taurus is at, because Taurus is the sign that's all about the senses. Mine is in the 4th house, which is the heart right here. In that case, you would take this is going to be a really crazy tongue twister, a Venetian stone or stone of Venus, like kunzite, rose quartz, morganite, essentially any pink stone, or if you really want to stick with the tradition, any white stone like milky quartz, heck, even selenite. No, don't be doing like that to yourself, but just like, because since Taurus is in my 4th house, please do not put this in water. You will find out that what happened to my selenite? It's like it disappeared. That's what happens with it. But if you want to be extra fancy, and if you so happen to have one of these, you can even use one of these. A heart shape, and just put it right on the heart center, and then just hold it for, I would have to say, either 30 seconds, or you can just sit like this with it for 30 minutes. I don't know if you'd be able to do it for 30 hours because that's kind of inhumanely impossible, but essentially 30 is the number of Venus, or if you really want to, you could even just take the selenite piece and just go on your face and go all around it, because Taurus rules the face. It also depends like on what your ascendant is too. And since I have an Aquarius ascendant, that means I can use stones that are related to Saturn, Uranus, or Rahu. In this case, it would be something like, it could be something as simple as a black tourmaline, a lapis lazuli, every time lapis lazuli, amethyst. The best one would be a blue sapphire, and essentially Aquarius ascendant in Capricorn, all they have to do is pretty much just take the stone and just go right on top, right all around their head. And since it's Saturn, when like pretty much like going around your head with it, take your time and go very slow. If you go too fast, it's not really gonna work as good, because he's a slow planet and the sorts. And also, I would also consider taking a look at what rules your 2nd house, because that's also the face and the senses, and is also the tone of your voice that you use. So for me, it's Pisces. So essentially, you would want to use something like blue topaz, angel light. You could use sodalite, but I would probably stick to like Larimar, opalite, and since it's the throat, you would just right on the throat. And that also kind of calms the urge to be like, I have to have something that's not so good. The senses need to be pleased. But this I mean, even this blue topaz is making me think, oh, I feel like I'm just in a pool of water. And I kind of don't want to stop doing it. But still, that's combating the urge to, you know, go visit the Vicey Vice again. And in astrology, there's also a meditation technique that's called the mudra, not murder, mudra. And it's when you take your hands and then you hold a certain finger and then you just hold it for a set period of time. And they go like this. The thumb is Mars. The index finger is it's Jupiter. The middle finger is Saturn. Well, of course, you know, when you're being rebellious, you're like, nope, I'm not doing it. Yeah, literally, that's that's how he got that finger. And then the ring finger, that's the sun. And then the pinky finger gets Moon, Mercury, and Venus. So whenever you use the pinky finger, you have to say which one it is. Because if you just be like, I need to have more focus on Venus. Okay, which one are you calling? Because if you just do this, they're going to look at you and be like, who is he calling again? I don't know. Well, who's going to take a guess? It won't be able to do as much. But in this case, since we're trying to combat the need to, go towards a vice, all the fingers that we're going to use, yep, you guessed it, is the middle one. So all you would have to do is just go with your middle finger and then the thumb, you just go down just like that. And then you just hold it for as long as you deem fit. And if you're getting an urge and it's kind of a bit overpowering it, then you just put it with the other hand. Because even right now, my mind just feels completely still while just doing it like this. There's a difference between this and then this, and then this. Because if you do this, pretty much what you're doing is you're blocking the energy and you're allowing Saturn to completely just sit on you. And that makes you just freeze up. And if you do it the other way, like this, you're blocking it because Mars is over the top of Saturn. And when you do this, that energy is being told to keep quiet. And when you're doing it this way, you're bringing from Saturn up there and you're bringing it down to Earth and you're bringing it into the energy, bringing this energy and action together. And then you can hold this for as long as deem fit. But also another keynote, the other planet that you never ever want to block, don't ever block this one. Don't ever block Jupiter, who's also the guru. Don't ever block Guru, because if you block Guru, you're like, how come I feel like I want to be in the next Jackass movie by just doing this? Yeah, we don't want you to do that. We have to always do it this way, because wisdom and divine intelligence coming together and taking action, that's how you're supposed to go about it. Not like this and not like this. Because if you do it this way, you're pretty much just saying that the astral side and the divinity and the other side, they can overpower the physical body and take action through you like that. Also known as kind of like a possession. And they're like, okay, free reign, whoever wants to grab. But no, we want to keep it like this because you're bringing them together as an equal and they come together. And also don't block, because if you block that, you're not going to be able to have divinity or wisdom come through. And no, that's awful.
It's not good. It's not good. A lot of, again, I'm not very well versed in astrology and still learning. But it's good to know these things and the rhyme and reason as to why. You did mention a lot of the crystals. I only had just a few. But for me, when I first got started at the beginning, I always had a big love for amethyst. I still wear mine all the time, unless I am charging it and cleansing it. It is a good addiction stone for those that are trying to break. And I think I picked mine up out maybe a year and a half after staying sober. And that's what's been working for me so far. And so I charge it as like a talisman of just protecting me just for that vice of drinking in particular. And it seems like it's been working pretty good. Hypersthene is another one. I don't have that on me at the moment, but hypersthene is really good. I've heard from a fellow sister of mine, hypersthene is kind of like your buddy, where it's like if somebody's coming up to you and it's like, hey, what you doing? You want to come with me? And they're like, back up. Like you need to step off and get away.
Oh, it's like a stone that's like that sassy black girlfriend that's like, it's pissing. Girl, you're gonna have to step it or you're gonna get your weave snatched. Kind of like that, right?
Very much like, let me take off the earrings. Like, do you not
no. Hold my hoops.
Hold the hoops. Hold the hoops. But it is good for grounding and blocking the energies as well. And any other forces trying to come in. So if yes, what you were talking about as far as that alignment, absolutely. And you had mentioned it earlier, clear quartz. I mean, that is my favorite. In any keeping my focus clear. Really just keeping myself in alignment with what my goddess wants me to do, what my guides want me to do. Smoky quartz would be another one as well. And I love black tourmaline. I love black tourmaline. Yeah.
It's like the stone that says down.
Down. Yes, down. Bow down. Yeah, but those are yeah, before my favorites. Good for protection, grounding. Really when you are just about to like go in for that, like I wanna no, you can't. Oh, okay. Okay, all right. Spell work, maybe? You want to dive into spell work? I was telling Halseer about, I do want to get a spell together for you guys. My guides have already implanted in my brain what it is that I need to do, what needs to go in it, but it does revolve around doing a honey jar for yourself. It's like a self-love jar, whatever you want to call it. Like that is specifically designed for you personally, where you add hair, anything belonging to you that you are comfortable adding into the jar. You can add crystals into that jar, feeding it, and burning candles for that jar. And that could help you get in alignment when you set that intention, put it all together for yourself. Because if you look at it, at that point, that jar is going to be a vessel for you. And it's just like, even if you do a sour jar spell, vice versa for somebody else. So it's depending on how you work with it and put that intent. And so when you are doing it specifically for that addiction and adding things that you have on hand in correspondence on what you are trying to promote or do, again, battling the addiction, doing the self-love, that is your vessel, standard as the jar, and you are a vessel. So that at that point, that is an extension of you and just taking care of it. So that is going to be coming up. Halseer did just show me a move before we got started as far as crystals, which it doesn't really go into a spell, but a ritual kind of thing, and what you charge and program the crystal to do. So yeah, and anything else that you have?
Well, to also kind of demonstrate, I'm trying to see which clear quartz is wanting to be the one that gets, tested. We'll go with, okay, this one's really saying, pick me. Okay, fine. So what you would do is you just take a simple clear quartz, and clear quartz is pretty much just like, you can tell me to do anything you want me to, no matter what it is, and I'll do it. Or if you don't tell it to do anything, by default, it'll just amplify everything by default. So essentially what you would do, you would take the stone, and if you're able to, kind of hold it like this, because what you're doing is you're like instilling it downward into your dominant hand, and that's, you should be using your dominant hand with this, because that's where you're putting the energy into it. And say, for an example, you're in a state like, you know what, I'm really having the nicotine fit. So what you would do is then take a clear quartz, and in that current moment, you would just go and instill in the stone pretty much all that you have urge-wise with it, and just pretty much just push it into it. And then whenever you feel like, I need another nicotine hit, you would just grab the stone, and then you would just push it into yourself. Because what you're doing is you're taking that urge out, and now you're having the urge of it again. When you're putting it back in, it cancels it out. It's essentially you're taking it and you're putting it into a stone, and then when you need a fag to suck on, you just put it on like this, and then you just push it into yourself, and it's going to cancel it out. Or that's why it's better, instead of being like, oh, I'm having a nicotine fit, I'm having a crystal fit. Okay. It's much simpler in that way, and there's a lot. It's also much more simpler, and it's not as like if you're like on the clock and you're at work, and when you're like, oh, I need a cigarette now. Oh, wait a minute. I have this thing that I charge, that has some nicotine fitty in it. Okay. I'm just going to put my hand in my pocket, keep working, and just push it right into the receptive hand, and then just feel it just all go away. And then after you're pretty much like instilled it back in, you then have to pretty much charge it again with all over again. Mm-hmm. But another idea that I thought of right away is, say, for an example, you're not really that fancy, but you have a tarot deck, and grab yourself the devil card, or the Chris Farley of the tarot, and then pretty much hone in on the card, and then just pretty much relate to it as in that's whatever your vice is. You would then you can either take a very heavy stone like black tourmaline, not really blue sapphire, I would say smoky quartz, amethyst, or shungite. Shungite's a really good one, because what shungite does is, if anything is toxic or anything that's full of BS, shungite just filters it all out, and it actually makes it pure. So in this case, to kind of get the idea of telling whatever this vice is to stop being like an ankle biter, what I'm going to do is actually take the black tourmaline and actually put it right on his face, because what that's doing is pretty much the vice is being squished. Like, I can't get up, I'm squished. And then from there, you would surround it with, if you have many pieces of amethyst, you could actually do it on like the four corners of the card. But in this case, intuitively, I'm being guided to just use the milky quartz or snow quartz, and pretty much just weigh the card down on the four sides. Yep. But also I'm getting pushed to just put some there, one more there, and just for good measure to put the shadow or like the smoky quartz at the bottom. And pretty much what that's doing is just like taking the vice and it's putting it into the card. And it's just like transferring it over and then just restricting it right there. And as soon as it's over and done with, if you have a piece of selenite or a clear quartz, as soon as you feel the urges go into that thing, you just take your little selenite wand, or in this case, selenite beat stick, and just sweep it away. And then it's out of your system.
The only condone of violence that we will accept.
Yes. Or another thing you can do, but I don't recommend doing it with the actual card of your tarot deck, is you can actually make a photocopy of it and then just write on the back of it all the things you feel about it and like what it's doing to you. Just write it all out on the back of it. And once you're done, just take a big deep breath and then blow and have the intention of like all this, whatever this vice is making me feel, just blow it all onto the card. You can do it as many times as you deem fit. And once you feel that it's all on there, just simply shred it up and just throw it up in the mirror in little pieces and then just be like, well, there goes that addiction.
Mm-hmm. Or even burning it too. I kind of like think of that as the bay leaves when we do like a banishment or using it for manifestation. That is actually something you can do, vice versa, just setting that intention of being clear of what you are trying to do, whether you're banishing and releasing or manifesting. So yeah, that's actually a really good one. Actually a really good one. No, I like that idea. Because I do use tarot cards sometimes with workings that I do. But it's like a throwaway deck, and either way, like even if it is a throwaway, to me it was like a starter pack that was like super cheap. It was like $5, and I was like, well, I really want the book and seeing what's in here, but it's just a flimsy card stock. I've got like wax on it and everything else, but yeah, I don't know if I'd actually burn like a card for my toss away tarot card deck, like, you know.
Yeah,
but
well,
a photocopy, yes, I would. Yes, I would.
Yeah, I mean, I have a deck that doesn't have the star card in it, and I mean that's the one I've been using for most of my magical workings, primarily because it's missing the star, and I haven't burned any of those. So it's pretty much just like, okay, like if I'm making like actually one of the ways that I used to use, I guess, cardomancy or whatever. What I used to do is I had the tarot deck I was using, and then I had the as above tarot, and no, it was the as above so below tarot. It was two decks that went together. One was more like about the magical aspect, and the one was like the mundane aspect of it. But the one with the as above so below, it had astrology planets in it. It also had goddesses for water, and gnomes and earth for earth, obviously. And air, it was actually like these little wind fairies and the other divination practices. And also the major was pretty much like the holidays, but as well as the kind of some days of the year that are unique, but also one was what was the other one? The high priestess was like a moon priestess with a knife and something else in her hand, and there was the yin yang symbol above her head. The magician was like the four elements. That's what it was called. And then, but yeah, that was. No wait. And justice was what was it? What was it? It was when Persephone and Demeter were being separated. Like that, it had the imagery was the card. One side had Persephone at the bottom reaching upward, and the other side had Demeter reaching down, and it was all green. And this one was like the underworld. So, but really what I used to do was I would just pretty much just make whatever spread that I'm feeling drawn to do. And the save, I was just doing like a simple 5 card, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, well, if I got this, I would not want to change it because it's just too good. Magician in the center as the current standing. Above is the Ace of Pentacles. Below is the King of Swords. To the right is Strength, and to the left is Sun. That's actually pretty good, and I wouldn't change that. But let's just say, for an example, I wanted to change it. I then would take that same deck that I had, the as above, and pretty much just shuffle and cut, and then draw the amount of cards in the spread. But now the thing is, if I'm going to be doing that, whatever 5 cards I get dealt with, I have to use them somehow, some way. I just realized this was a lot. But no matter what cards I get, I have to make use of them. And most of the time, if I got a planet, like a planet card, one being like the sun, of course, the sun is pretty much the king, and he brings life to everything. So it makes sense to put the sun on the sun to make the happiness a little bit extra overkill. And say if I got something like, there was a card that was of Athena, and in this case, I would say probably putting Athena on top of the magician to give more wisdom. But then say like for some reason I get if I get something like Saturn, and the thing is like crap. How in the heck am I gonna put this Saturn card on something? I don't want to restrict any of this, but that's when I would actually put it upside down to show the opposing side of Saturn. Instead of him being restricting, he becomes the love tapper. And the love tapping should be going to the Ace of Pentacles to have it be limitless, since it's pure manifestation of wealth, conveniency, comfort, and 3D gains. Well, putting Saturn and making it limitless, well, all over the place. And I would just go through each and every card up until the point where all the cards are done. And then after that, that's when I pretty much shuffle the deck again, the same deck that I drew the first time. And then whatever I put on top of it now becomes the new. Screw this deck. I'll show why in a second. But so pretty much, oh wait, forgot one. Got one more. So for the example, the magician will now become the nine of cups. And also having the Athena card through wisdom, I'll have like a wish granted. So pretty much changes what the first card was and then metamorphosizes into something else. The Ace of Pentacles then goes to the 10 for, being limitless, but that was convenient. In this case, strength would then go from restricting to trying to find the balance in it. The King of Swords then becomes the Knight of Swords, which he goes from flaming, burning, like burning air to like pure air. And then the one that pretty much made me go F this deck. You have the Sun, and then you have my card, the Queen of Cups. So pretty much happiness being bestowed by pretty much becoming to the best state. Double Sun, and then that's what happens. Yeah. I hate it when that happens. But that's another idea that I actually use the tarot. And that's actually a very creative way. Not really a lot. I haven't seen anybody else do it that way before, but just another option.
Yeah. No, I like that. Again, I've always loved your explanation when you've done videos on the tarot card decks, and it is good to get well versed on the universal meanings, what they mean to other people, what they mean to you, instead of like textbook, and what you see. What was the other thing I was going to say? I lost my train of thought for a minute, and there was a point to this, and it happens, and I don't know why.
Okay, it's like, okay, guys, bring it back, put it back.
Bring it back. Damn it. Okay. That's okay. No, but yeah, because there's so many things that you can use it for. But what grabbed my attention with you, thank you. Why did you take it from me in the first place? Mm-hmm. He said it wasn't going to sound very good. And I was like, stop it. He's like, it didn't make any sense. I'm like, it makes sense to me, and I'm sure it's going to make sense to you. So anyway, it could.
There's a lot of things that don't make sense in this world. Trust me. I know too. Believe me, I know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but when I was watching your videos, you talked about bamboozling the brain, and
yes,
you talk about that a lot so much. And I was just kind of, it was like poof, like a light went off in there. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it is bamboozling the brain, not necessarily, you are reprogramming it a certain way on maybe just like the responses that you do have, but you have to keep remembering, like, I am bamboozling my brain. The thing of the, I can't, I don't know how, I just try something,
Mm-hmm.
and then it most likely, just like what happened with me, it's going to make me forget,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep, and a good example is actually like with the Three of Swords. People are like, oh, that's the card of heartbreak. Oh, I'm so sad. Okay, well, we'll bamboozle it out. Okay, well, fine. Yeah, the heart is sadness and pain. But the thing is, if you take a look, you don't see any like blood coming off of it, right? It's pierced, but there's no bleeding. In that case, we can say that the person's hurt, but they're still standing and they still have their life essence in them. They still have like a feeling to live still, and they're still standing. And that's actually a much better way of going at it and be like, well, somebody has heartbreak. No, well, as far as we know, they might be hurting, but they're still standing.
Absolutely. I was looking, I was actually in a meeting this morning. It's like one of my regular meetings, and we were kind of like how you brought up the devil card, right? And how you can use that in spell work, or for working that you're going to do. So I had looked at the Three of Swords card you just put up, and the comment that came to mind just now that was shared in the meeting was, I looked at my vice as a king or a divine or some sort of thing that I worshiped, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if it was something that I loved, like I love nicotine, okay? So if I look at that as the heart in the Three of Swords, I am trying to break away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just how you perceive it to be, and
yep, it's just also like this card. The He Who Font. He intimidates you and says, you are going to do what I say or you're going to hell. Well, the thing is, I haven't heard, that His Holiness the Pope actually go at somebody, but actually just say, just be all speaking and no, picking up the stick in his hand and whacking people with it. He just says, you're just going to go to hell then. How do you know that, dude? You haven't even taken a swing. But it's just like that idea of how something can try and intimidate you. I just saw a shadow just go right over here, and I think I just accidentally hit it in the face. Because I'm just like, wait a minute, whoa. Still. But that's like the malefic side of the Hierophant, or He Who Font, is that he teaches you by intimidating you. And he doesn't want you to ask questions.
Oh yeah. Did I ever ask questions to alcohol? Absolutely not. It was like, come hither, my friend. Come.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, go ahead.
It just, even then it makes me think like, well, it is what it is. And if you're in a group of people that are struggling with something, the last thing you want to do is intimidate them, because it makes them think like, why then should I even bother then if I'm just going to be judged and criticized? And that's not how we want to be.
Well, and I think like, again, we can probably hit this on another topic one day that you and I talk together, but I would think in a perfect world, from when this started with the 12 steps, I genuinely and thoroughly believe that Bill Wilson and Dr. Bob, more specifically so Bill, because he was like, you know what, guys, I am so flawed out of my mind. I am trying to make this book because I have not been so great to my wife, and trying to do the right thing. But he was a stockbroker. He worked on Wall Street. And what did he love? Money. And a lot of us in the rooms, we talk about it and how he was, you know, but such a good thing that he did. But there, you know, he later on in time, there was a common good for it. And he had to kind of like put that aside and be like, really, what is my motive here? You know, and that kind of thing. And so that's what happens as more time goes on. I feel like in a basic 12 step is that it loses the acceptance. It doesn't matter what you believe in. It doesn't have to be at this point. If you really study and read the text, it's a God of your understanding. Maybe God not being the appropriate term today, if it makes people feel uncomfortable. You know, but yeah, it's all up for interpretation, and it is supposed to be open for all. And then people do forget to practice, and I have caught myself in that tightrope before. It's like, why are you passing off judgment? Seriously, you know, and I have to call myself out for that, you know, being like, hey, this is obviously stirring something inside of you. Maybe this is something you need to look at. Doing shadow work with it, which a lot of people don't want to do.
Or go face first into it, because the longer you resist it, the much more harder it is going to be for you to resist it, because it's going to get more and more stronger.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Guys, thanks for joining me in Halseer. I just want to do a quick reminder. Halseer, again, congratulations on you hitting 1,000 subscribers. I am so stinking proud of you. Please check out his channel and subscribe. And you will see us next time. So anyways, guys, Halseer, thank you for being here. And we'll see you guys next time.